Here with our Whitetail panel to talk all things Canuck. We are starting a special promotion where we are looking back on the top moments of Canucks history. We've found 50 of them, or we're in the process of finding them, going by decades. So we start with the 70s. Ben, you wrote the first story just about the fuss when this team was first founded and got going. And while you would think there would be excitement in Vancouver over finally getting a big league team, it turns out it was shrouded in controversy over what they were going to pay the WHL, whether they would actually have a team, haggling over the price. And then, of course, there was the whole debacle around losing the coin flip and everything else. You know, is it apt now where we see where the team is that they kind of started on the wrong foot?
Well, it is, but then again, there's some great theater to it all. I mean, when they didn't get a team in the initial expansion, the fact that there was such an uproar in Vancouver that people were cutting up their credit cards and not drinking Molson's beer and switching to Labatt and cutting up their Esso credit card because Esso was connected with Hockey Night in Canada. You take that, we're going to get a team here in Vancouver eventually. The Oakland Seals were a disaster. There was some thought that the team was going to be sold and moved to Vancouver. That became a political football, and I had an opportunity to talk to Jim Robson about it all, and my goodness gracious, it's just great theater. I think it's a really interesting series that we're doing because, you know what they say, to know where you are, you got to know where you've been, and the Canucks have been to hell and back, and it's beyond the spin of the wheel at the draft table as well.
Patrick, I know that you're of the younger variety than Ben and myself, but you know we're doing this poster series. We featured the sort of current stars first. Now we're into the 70s. We've got players like Kurtenbach. We got players like Quinn. And while those early days didn't necessarily have a lot of Hall of Famers in there, the one theme that when you go back to and look at some of those original players was this team has had class, and they've always cared about the community work and the type of player you are off the ice as much as on the ice.
Yeah, no, it's always been I think we first got that kind of a sense of it with Pat Quinn in his era, really putting his stamp saying this is part of the deal, this is what you guys do, and that carried forward. You know, Brian Burke used to talk about that all the time. That's part of the deal. If you come to this team, you have to do community work and be visible in the community. I think that's what's rooted them so well for so long.
Yeah, you look at all the captains too. I think Orland Kurtenbach really set the bar as a guy who understood what it was to be a consummate pro and off the ice, and to this day still visible in the community.
Yeah, you look at it, and lots of these stories are about that. I mean, one of the stories that's coming is about that there was a big 11-5 win in March 1971. Wayne Mackey, who everyone has great things to say about, Wayne Mackey scored 3 goals that night. It's just there's all these good people involved going forward through all the years.
The great thing with that, and we'll wrap it up here, I was looking through the moments. That was the first time the Canucks scored double digits.
Right.
Yeah. The irony that we have been immersed in Team Tank for the last few years. By winning that game 11-5 against the Seals, they clinched the number 1 pick overall in the draft for the Seals, which they had traded to the Canadians for Guy Lafleur. So Wayne Mackey that was the first time they had 3 20-goal scorers on the team, first time they'd scored 11 goals in a game, and in doing so gave Hall of Famer Guy Lafleur to the Montreal Canadiens, who owned the Seals pick in the process. Just could not write a more textbook story for the Canucks from the first game that they played. So we'll have these all year long for you. Posters, memories. We'll continue to podcast, video, all your Canuck news here at theprovince.com, vancouversun.com.